This is Miss Denise. Today's lesson, we are going to be taking two-dimensional objects and turning them to three-dimensional objects on our devices using some new software. I can't wait to see all that you're going to be creating today. This software that we are going to be using is called Blender. We will also be using TinkerCAD in a very similar way. And when you open up Blender, it will automatically start with a cube. Now, Miss Denise is not very familiar with Blender, so even I am trying to figure out all the ways to use it. So when you open up the program and it starts off with a cube, we want to get rid of that cube. So we're going to click on the cursor tool, click on our cube, and then hit delete, and now our cube is gone. For this project, you're going to be making a donut. If you are more advanced, you're going to be taking your donut and putting it in a donut box. And if you are more advanced than that, then you get to put your donut and make a dozen donuts in a box. And if you're more advanced than that, then you get to try to put icing on your donut. But for most of you, you're going to just start to try to become familiar with this program and working in a three-dimensional space. So when you are working in two dimensions, you have an X and a Y axis or axis. And now you're going to be adding in the Z. So if you look here, you have your X, you have your Y, and your Z. And if I put my cursor in this little circle area and I hold down my mouse key and I start rotating, you'll see that my plane is moving. So that is showing you the whole three-dimensional space. That's the plane straight on, and now we're tipping it slightly so that we can see the rest of the space. This object right here is your camera. And now we have a new object in the space and we want to add a new object. Since we deleted the cube, we want to now put in a donut. So now we are going to be adding in, so we're going to the word add. So you see your menu up here, go to the word add. We want to click on mesh because that is just adding in a basic object. And a donut shape is a funny mathematical word called a torus. So we're going to click on that. And now we have a donut shape. So again, I can go to over here. I can tilt my X, Y, and Z axis, and I can see where I'm at in my space. And now if I click on my donut, this is going to tell you over here, the menu tells you the size of the donut and the location of the donut. And over here, it will allow you to rotate your donut and scale your donut. And there is another menu option that allows us to make the donut thicker or thinner. So those are some different things that we can change. But right now, we just want to leave our donut as is and practice just moving in the space. We can pick up our donut and we can pick it up and change it to that the Z. We can go to the X and the Y and move it around. And I want you to practice that if you lift up your donut, and then if you go back to this little circle area that allows you to tilt your planes, you can now see that the donut is no longer on the table. It is now above the table because we moved it on its Z. So now we're going to move it back down. And again, if I go and I tilt it, and now you can see that it's on the tabletop. And then if I wanted to, I could slide it over the tabletop. So there's different things that I could be doing with my donut. So that is step one. And if you can do that, you're doing amazing. Great job. And then I will start continuing on how to build onto that lesson. But for right now, adding in a donut into your scene, being able to move the donut is the first step in using the software. Okay, so Miss Denise has now figured out, I had to go and remind myself, how do I widen my donut? Because right now my donut's kind of a thin donut, and we want to make him a little bit more of a real happy donut. So to do that, we're going to go into object mode. We're going to click on that menu. We're going to go to edit mode. And now you will see that all of these vectors, or they call them, I believe they call them vertices or something like that. All these points are now highlighted that allow us to start to manipulate this object. But we need to be careful because we don't want to move all these little tiny points. We need to be very careful on which menu options we are selecting. So if you scroll down your menu option here, now you have a whole bunch more menu options that you can now do to this object. You're going to scroll to the almost to the very bottom, and you're going to go to this one that says shrink and fatten. Kind of a weird word. It should be more like maybe shrink and widen, but that is the one that you want. And when you click on it, you'll see that there's this little yellow dot. And now if I grab this yellow dot, I can make my donut go really skinny, and I can start to make it go even wider. And so we want a nice, decent looking size donut. And then once you think you're happy with where your donut is, you can let go of your mouse, and now that is your donut. So that is to alter the thinness or thickness of your donut. Okay, so we just left off with now how to widen the donut, and now we are working on adding in a box to put our donut in. And now this is the new challenge. We're not going to worry about icing our donut right now because icing a donut is much more complicated. And we'll get to that step later on. But right now I want to add a box into my scene. So now I'm going to say add. And actually, so now I want to go up to, I have to remove myself out of editing the torus, and I want to now edit the box. So I have to go back to object mode. So add mesh cube. That's what I want to do. I want to add a cube. And now I have a cube. And you'll notice every time you add an object into Blender, it always puts it right on top of the other object. But we don't want that to happen yet. I mean, technically now our donut is in a box, but our box needs to alter a little bit. So I want to slide my box over. I could pull which of the axes that I want. And I got to make sure I'm selecting the right one. I want the cube. I do not want to move the torus right now. And I'm going to move it over here. And now I want to change my box to a bigger box of donuts. This box right now is too small. So I'm going to go over here to scale. I'm going to click on scale, and I'm going to click on my green, which is, I don't know if it's my X or my Y, which one in this program, it doesn't label them for me. At least not currently on my computer is it labeling it for me. But if I take that and I pick it and I could, wow, stretch it. Now I'm getting a bigger box of donuts, but I want that donut box maybe to be even wider this way on the other axis. So I'm going to stretch it that way. And I'm even going to go maybe a little bit taller. And now I have a really big box for my donuts. And I may want to make it even bigger as I start to add in this donut into the box. I'm going to start mathematically seeing, is my box big enough to put a dozen donuts in there? Right now, I would probably say no, but it's looking like a pretty good box for donuts. So I'm going to slide that. Oopsie. I want to slide that over. So I need to get out of scale and go back over to move and oh, no, I don't want to go that way. I don't want to go up on my Z. If I go up on my Z, it takes a box off the table. I want to slide them this way. And to verify that I have not taken my box off the table, again, I want to go back to the circle thing. That's my X, Y, and Z. Oh, here, right here, it tells me, okay, sliding that way is the Y. Sliding this way is my X. Let's just double check. Oh, do you notice? The box looks like I slid it under the table. I don't know if it's quite on my table because see, there's my donut, which is sitting on the table. I can't quite tell from this program, but it looks like box may have moved under the table. Let me see. If I move my Z up, and then I tilt it again, that looks a little bit better. But can you notice how you can really accidentally change it? And one of the things I could do, I could delete this. I could add a new cube and make sure that I'm only sliding on my X and my Y. So I'm not altering my Z and putting it under the table. If I really want to kind of go back and be accurate, but I just keep kind of eyeballing it next to my other one to see if the box is on the table. So here's my donut. My donut, I could probably even go wider with my donut. So there's my donut in one box. So now I'm going to take my donut. So I'm going to click on my donut, and I want to now move my donut into the box. And when you get a box of donuts, your donut is usually standing up. Sometimes they might be laying flat. So now I have to figure out which one of these, and then maybe the red one, I want to rotate my donut up. There we go. Now my donut's standing up. So now my donut is ready to go into the box. So again, I have to go to my cursor to move it. I'm going to pick up that donut. Whoop. I have to make sure, again, I can't just pick up the donut. Sometimes I have to actually be touching the arrows in order to pick up the donut. And I know there is a key command, and I believe it's G, that allows me to just pick up this donut and do whatever I want with it. So that is one key command you do. You don't have to even press control. You just press G. If I press the down, if I release it, it just stops. Or I could just pick it up and move it this way by picking it up on its axis. But I think, and sometimes you can, I guess, see, oh, whoa, it's making it bigger and little. That's bizarre. Okay, anyway, I'm going to pick them up. And I'm going to press G because I kind of like that command. I'm going to press G so I can move them wherever I want. And I'm going to stick my donut in the box. But now you notice, look, if I go like this, he's going in the box. But now he's not in the box. So what I'm going to need to do is I need to rotate my scene so that I can get him better inside the box. So I'm going to move it like this maybe. All right. And then I think if I take my hand, can I scooch my scene? No. Oh, my cursor just lets me move it. Okay, so there. You can see I am now have my donut here. I'm going to go back and press G. Well, I press my donut, then I press G, and now I'm going to move my donut inside the box. And again, I'm going to let go of them. I'm going to look back. I'm going to go back to the circle thing that has my X, Y, Z, and axis. I'm going to tilt it, and I'm going to double check. Is my donut inside the box? Oh, no, it's not. It's hanging out underneath the box. So again, I'm going to press G, and I am, press my donut, press G, and I'm going to move the donut up. This is all what Miss Denise is talking about. When you move into a three-dimensional space, it may appear your object is where you think it is, but as you move it around in that space and you're checking your X and your Y and your Z, you're going to start to know, do I actually have it in the box? The other thing you can do is these little icons right up here, boop, boop, boop. These were going to render not render, but let you see inside the cubes differently. So I'm wondering if any of these, ooh, look, this one's a good one. Now I have wire and wire, so I can really see that donut inside that box. So again, if I go to the circle and I click on my mouse and I start moving that space around, my donut looking pretty good in there. And now one of the other things I want to do is I'm going to see, can I grab both of these? If I hold the shift key down, I'm going to take both of these objects and I'm going to slide them so that they're straight over me because I want to start. This is now step one. You made a donut. Step two, you put a donut in a box. And now step three is, can I make many donuts in my box? So I'm going to click off of everything. I'm going to click on my donut and I'm going to click on G and I'm going to scoochie my donut over into the beginning of the box. Hopefully he's not going out of the box. Now I'm going to start duplicating my donut and seeing how many donuts will fit in this box. So I already have him highlighted. I know he's ready to go. And now if I go into select object, sorry, if I go into object, I can duplicate my object. And now I have another donut. I'm going to scooch him over and let go. And now he's next to that one. And then I'm going to go back into object and duplicate. And it's shift D if I wanted to keep doing it that way. If I want to do key commands, and I'm going to select my donut again, and I'm going to move this donut next to it. Now I'm curious, if I select all my donuts, can I go to object and duplicate objects? Oh, look, now I'm making 3 donuts at a time. Awesome. So now I want to double check. Are all my donuts in the box? Have I accidentally moved any of my donuts out of the box? So I'm going to go back to my X, Y, and Z. I'm going to click on my mouse and I can move that and I've lift it up. I have all my donuts in the box. I go all the way around and all of them are in a box. Right now I have half a dozen. And if I wanted to, I could move those donuts, change my box shape to try to get a full dozen donuts in the box. But you are doing amazing if you have been able to make a donut, put a donut in a box, and duplicate a donut. It all takes a little bit of practice, But in learning the program, and maybe sometimes you do right and sometimes you have to start over, and that's okay because it's a whole new software and it's practicing using a whole new part of your brain on how to work in a three-dimensional space. Okay, so now we left off with putting donuts in our box. And I have yet not shown you how to look at it from the camera point of view. So you have a camera here. And once we start to finalize what our donuts are going to look like and the box is going to look like, you're going to want to start to see what it looks like in the camera. Right now, we have donuts in a box, so we may just be seeing the box. We're not going to actually see the donuts inside. We would actually have to remove a plane off of our box to see them inside. So right now, if I click on camera, that is what my camera is seeing. So that is what the camera view sees. Okay, so we are now going to figure out how to see inside our box of donuts. So we need to go to the edit mode. So here in the menu option, we're going to go back to edit mode. And we want to start selecting all of these different points to delete. So we're going to go to this little cursor object. We're going to select one of the corners of the top of the lid of the box. We're going to hold down the shift key. We're going to go back to this corner and select this one. This corner, select this one, and this corner and select this one so I can open up my box. And if I select Y, it now allows that to be its own plane. It is now literally like a lid on our box that we can move. So again, if I go here and I switch, I want to make sure I'm sliding my box lid straight up. So I'm going to switch so that I can see my donuts straight on. And now I should be able to take that, click on my cursor tool, and I lift up the lid. So I want to lift it up pretty high because I want to get it out of camera view. So again, if I rotate, I should be able to see the lid is off my box. And now as we were looking at with camera, we're going to click on the camera icon. And now we can see the lid is completely off. If I want to, I may scoochie that lid down so that it's in my camera at least so I can see it while I'm rendering. There, lid, box of donuts. Now, if I click back out, I'm going to go back to render. I'm going to say render image, and I should see a box of donuts. There we go. Now we can see inside the box. All right, so congratulations if you were able to think of how to do this step. Again, this is much more advanced step, but you are doing amazing as you continue to create in a three-dimensional space. Miss Denise has now figured out how to split the donut. So I've noticed sometimes when I go to select the points, I can select them in different ways. And for some reason, my Blender is acting a little different right now. So in order for me to select the points, I'm going to switch it so I can see my donut face on. I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to make sure that I'm on this little arrow selection tool, and I'm going to highlight my points or my vertices. Now, if I rotate it, you'll notice, make sure you rotate it correctly so that you keep Z on top, you're not flipping your table. I did miss some points right there. So I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to reselect, then rotate it again, keeping that Z on top. And I'm still missing a couple of points. I don't know why. Technically, if I go like this, I do the same thing, I should be selecting all the way through, but right now I'm not. See, I'm only selecting half of the donut. So if I go back, I'm going to try to go as perfectly as possible straight up. I don't know, we'll see. And if I don't do it totally perfect, then that's just the way it goes. Okay, there we go. Now I have half the top of the donut. So see, I've rotated it. I've now selected, I'm trying to make the icing. So now I have top of the donut that I'm going to ice. So now we're going to use some key commands. We're going to separate the top of the donut to the bottom of the donut so I could color the two. So when I render it, I have a different colored donut. So I'm going to click Y. Y now is separating the top of the donut to the bottom of the donut, but it isn't completely separated yet because I need to now tell it that I'm about to separate it. And then if I press P and hit selection, I now have completely separated the top of the donut. So I'm not quite sure what all these key commands mean, but Y takes those points and tells the computer I'm about to cut something, and P will make them two separate objects so I can color them in two separate ways. So now I'm going to go out of edit mode and I'm going to go into object mode. And now you'll see I have a top of a donut and a bottom of a donut. So now I am going to want to select one part and then select the other part and color them differently. So I'm going to select the bottom of my donut. I want to make it donut color. Right here, this little icon at the very bottom of the list is now going to allow me to color my donut. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on the word new. I want to make a new material for the bottom of my donut. And I want to take this word, use nodes, and I want to click it. All those menu options are not what I need. So we're going to just make sure that it's deselected. Use nodes is no longer highlighted. I'm going to click my base color, and I actually kind of like that for the color of the donut. So I may leave it. Maybe I might play with it and make it maybe a little bit more like a brownie donut-y kind of color. That's up to you if you want to change it. So that now is the bottom of my donut. Now I'm going to select the top of my donut. I'm going to click new, and I again click use nodes. I don't want to see all of those different options. I'm going to click on base color again, and I'm going to make a pinky purple donut. So now if I go to my X and Y and Z, I should rotate it. I have top of the donut, one color, bottom of the donut, another color. Yay! And now if I render my image, as you see, I have a pink donut. Now you'll notice you can see right there, I probably missed some of these points right here, but that's okay because Miss Denise is practicing and so are you. Now that is a very advanced thing to try and to keep practicing how to color an object and then how to cut it and color part of an object. If I wanted to, I could get even trickier. I can start moving those points to make like the icing is uneven. I could add in sprinkles. I can do all kinds of things. But this is officially now probably the most advanced part of it, and you have achieved a high level of using Blender for a beginner person working in a 3D space. And I hope you just keep having fun trying all these different aspects of working in a three-dimensional world. Awesome. Thanks. Hello, this is Miss Denise again. There are some other functions to Blender that we can then also continue working on. If I push this menu bar up, this allows me to actually animate my objects. So I would click on this button. This is my keying. I need to click both parts of my donut. And then if I slide my donut, it is now making a keyframe for me. If I now move to this frame, I could slide my donut a different way. It's now making a keyframe. So just like in Wick Editor, if I rewind to the beginning and I hit play, the computer is automatically moving my donut for me. So that's one other awesome aspect of Blender. All right, and lastly, there's one other awesome feature of Blender. If you go into File and New, you can hit General, which is where we've been living in the world of creating dimensional objects. Now there is another one called Sculpting. So if I click on Sculpting, it brings me this ball of clay. I have all these different menu options right here that allow me to start to push and pull. I can add on different sizes of clay and create an object in here. So let's say I wanted to hit clay thumb. I could click the size of my brush. Right now it's pretty big. And if I click it and move it, I am now moving the clay. So let's see if I want to add on some clay. I can go like this, and now I'm adding on clay. And I could try some other objects. Maybe I want to smooth this out. I don't like what I did, so I'll smooth it. Well, that one part kind of looks like an ear over there. So let's go back to where's clay again. Clay. Maybe I'll do that on this side, do that on this side. Oh, for whatever reason, it added it in the center. So I just undid that. And then I have some other different options down here that allow me to push the clay in. Let's see. Ooh, this one allows me to pull the clay out. So I take this one. If I wanted to add it like that, pull parts of the clay out. So you can explore this. This is just a fun part of working with Blender and working with a virtual ball of clay on what you could possibly make.